hollow cabin. I should have listened to the warnings. When we booked the cabin in Hollow Creek, the website described it as a secluded paradise, a perfect weekend escape from the noise of the city. But there was a reason it was so cheap, a reason nobody else had booked it. Day 1. It was late afternoon when we arrived. The drive had taken longer than expected, 3 hours of winding roads through thick woods. By the time we pulled into the clearing, the sun was dipping behind the trees, stretching shadows across the dirt. There it is. Ethan, my best friend, grinned as he pointed. The cabin sat at the edge of the woods, a 2-story log house with a wraparound porch. It looked older than I expected, like something built 100 years ago, untouched by time. Emily, my girlfriend, nudged me. "See? I told you it'd be amazing." She sounded excited, but something in her eyes looked uncertain. Chloe, Ethan's girlfriend, stepped out of the car, stretching. "God, I need a drink." That road was brutal. We grabbed our bags and headed inside. The cabin smelled musty, like wood and something else. Something rotting. Emily wrinkled her nose. "Guess it hasn't been used in a while." The place was fully furnished, rustic wooden furniture, a stone fireplace, old family portraits hanging on the walls. But there was no electricity. The website had mentioned that it was off-grid. But standing in the dim, flickering light of the lanterns we brought, I suddenly hated the idea. Then Ethan found the trapdoor. It was in the corner of the living room, half hidden under a rug. "Basement?" he asked, pulling at the handle. I hesitated. "Let's just leave it alone, man." He smirked. Scared, something in my stomach churned. The trapdoor was nailed shut. Night 1. We built a fire, poured drinks, and tried to shake off the unease. The whiskey helped, and soon we were laughing, playing cards, forgetting the eerie silence outside. But then the noises started. A scraping sound, faint but deliberate, coming from beneath us. Chloe paused, her glass halfway to her lips. "Did anyone else hear that?" We sat in silence. Then 3 slow knocks. Boom, 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 from the trapdoor. Emily let out a shaky laugh. "Okay, no, I don't like that." Ethan stood, staring at the rug covering the door. Probably just animals under the house. But the knocking didn't sound like animals. It sounded like someone trapped. We decided to ignore it, cranking up music to drown it out. But later that night, as I lay in bed with Emily curled beside me, I heard it again. A whisper, so soft I almost thought I imagined it. "Let me out." Day 2. Ethan woke up before sunrise. He said he had a nightmare, something about the trapdoor opening by itself. Chloe had one too. She dreamed that someone was standing at the foot of our beds, just watching. Nobody slept well. We decided to go for a hike, get some fresh air. The woods were too quiet. No birds, no rustling leaves, just a heavy stillness pressing in from all sides. Then we found the footprints, bare feet, deep imprints in the mud, leading from the cabin into the trees. Emily grabbed my arm. "Whose are those?" Nobody answered, because we all knew. We hadn't gone outside last night. Whoever or whatever left those footprints had come from inside the cabin. Night 2. We wanted to leave, but when we tried to start the car, it wouldn't turn over. The engine was fine. The battery was fine. It was like something wanted us to stay. Ethan tried to call for help, but our phones had 0 signal. Not even emergency calls went through. We were trapped. As night fell, the air inside the cabin grew heavy. The fire wouldn't stay lit. No matter how much wood we added, it kept dying within minutes, leaving us in darkness. Then, around midnight, we heard it. The trapdoor creaking open. Slow, deliberate. I grabbed the lantern and shined it toward the living room. The rug was moved, and the trapdoor was open, a black hole gaping into the basement. Chloe whispered, "Oh my God!" Something moved down there, a faint shuffling sound. Then the breathing, slow, wet, right at the edge of the opening. Then a hand emerged, gray, long fingers, too many joints. Ethan screamed. I grabbed the fireplace poker and lunged, slamming the door shut. Something slammed back. Once, twice, then silence. We nailed the trapdoor shut and pushed every piece of furniture on top of it. None of us slept. Day 3. At dawn, we tried the car again. It started immediately. We didn't question it. We didn't even go back inside for our bags. We left everything and sped away, watching the cabin shrink in the rearview mirror. And that should have been the end. But as we drove down the dirt road, I glanced in the mirror, and I swear to God, I saw the trapdoor wide open, and something crawling out. The aftermath. None of us spoke about it after that weekend. A few weeks later, Ethan did some digging. He found old news clippings. The cabin used to belong to a family in the 1800s, the Holloways. They had a son, a boy who was born wrong, kept in the basement, hidden, forgotten, until the family mysteriously vanished. The townspeople sealed the basement shut, warning never to open it. And now someone, us, had let him out. I still have nightmares, not about the cabin, not about the trapdoor, but about the thing that crawled out, and the feeling that it followed us home. The Ashwood Retreat. I should have trusted my instincts. When we first pulled up to Ashwood Retreat, something in my gut twisted. It was subtle at first, just an eerie discomfort crawling along my spine, but I ignored it. This was supposed to be the perfect weekend getaway. A secluded rental in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by thick woods and miles away from civilization. No responsibilities, no stress. Just me, my girlfriend Emily, my best friend Derek, and his wife Hannah. "This place is beautiful," Emily had said, stepping out of the car, stretching. I tried to agree. The house itself was massive, an old Victorian-style cabin with dark wooden beams and large bay windows. It looked newly renovated, yet there was something off. The air felt too still, too quiet. "This is gonna be great," Derek grinned, slapping my back. "You worry too much, man." I let out a nervous chuckle and grabbed our bags. That was the last time I felt even remotely safe. Day 1. By nightfall, we were settled in, sitting around the fireplace with drinks in hand. The inside of the house was warm, welcoming even, but that unease never left me. Then the first incident happened. We heard a noise, a loud, deliberate thud from upstairs. Hannah was the first to react. Did anyone else hear that? We all had. Derek shrugged. Old house, probably just the foundation shifting. Emily and I exchanged glances. I wasn't convinced. I grabbed a flashlight and hesitantly climbed the stairs. The hallway was long and dark, with doors on either side leading to guest rooms. I shined the light under each door. Nothing. Then I reached the last door. The handle was ice cold. Something inside me screamed not to open it. I turned back toward the stairs, and then I heard it. A whisper, right against my ear. "Go back." I froze. My blood turned to ice. The air behind me felt thick, pressing against my skin. I spun around, shined the flashlight down the hall. Nothing. Just an empty corridor. I didn't check the room. I turned and ran. When I got back downstairs, everyone was watching me expectantly. "Nothing," I lied. I didn't sleep that night. Day 2. The next morning, things got worse. Derek was gone. First, we thought he had gone for a morning walk. But after an hour of searching, we started to panic. His phone was still on the nightstand, his shoes by the door. But Derek? Nowhere. Hannah was sobbing. Emily was frantic. Then I noticed something. The last door upstairs, the one I hadn't opened the night before, it was now open. A dark, gaping mouth at the end of the hallway. And inside was Derek's watch, covered in blood. Emily gasped. "Oh my God!" I didn't think. I grabbed Hannah and Emily and bolted down the stairs. "We're leaving. Now!" We grabbed our bags and ran outside. I jammed the keys into the car and turned the ignition. Nothing. Not even a click. That's when we saw them. Figures. Watching us from the tree line. Dozens of them. Tall, motionless. Too far away to make out faces. But I could feel their eyes on us. My hands shook. "What the fuck?" Then Emily screamed. I turned just in time to see Derek stumble out from the woods. But something was wrong. His clothes were torn, his skin pale, his eyes black, no whites, just endless darkness. Derek? Hannah sobbed, running toward him. I grabbed her. No, that's not him. Help me, Derek rasped. His voice was distorted, like multiple voices speaking at once. He took a step forward. The figures in the woods took a step closer. I yanked Hannah back. Get in the house. Now! We barely made it inside before the lights cut out. Night 2. The next few hours were hell. We huddled in the living room, barricading the doors with furniture. Outside, the figures just stood there, unmoving, silent. Emily whimpered, "What do they want?" I didn't have an answer. Then Derek's voice, right outside the door. "Guys, let me in. Please." Hannah started toward the door. I grabbed her. "That's not him." She fought against me. "You don't know that. He's my husband." Then the whispers started. From inside the walls, from the ceiling, a chorus of voices, overlapping, whispering in a language I didn't understand. The room got colder. The fire died instantly. And then the knocking. Slow, deliberate. Boom, boom, boom. Something powerful behind it. Emily whimpered. Hannah was hyperventilating. I grabbed the fire poker, gripping it tightly. Then the knocking stopped. Silence. Too much silence. Then, from behind me, a breath on my neck. A single word. Run. I spun around. Nobody was there. I didn't wait. I grabbed Emily and Hannah and bolted for the back door. The second I yanked it open, everything went black. The aftermath. I woke up in the car. Engine running. Sun shining. Emily and Hannah were beside me, unconscious but breathing. The cabin? Gone. Like it had never been there. Derek was never found. The police searched the area. They found our campsite, our tire tracks. But no cabin. No signs of a struggle. Just the dense, silent woods. That was a year ago. Emily and Hannah refused to talk about it. We don't speak. We don't visit the mountains anymore. But at night, when the wind is still, I hear it. That whisper, right against my ear. Run. The Forgotten Retreat. It was supposed to be a relaxing weekend. Just a break from the chaos of city life. I should have known better. My girlfriend, Lisa, had planned the trip, 3 days in an off-grid cabin deep in the mountains. No phone service, no distractions. Just us, nature, and some peace and quiet, she'd said. Sounded perfect. Our friends, Mark and Sophie, were joining us, making it a double date. We left Friday morning, excited for the long drive. The road twisted through towering pines, the sky an endless stretch of gray, promising rain. About 30 miles from the nearest town, we took a detour down an old dirt road. Our GPS had lost signal long ago, but Lisa had printed directions. Should be about 5 more miles, she assured us. Those 5 miles stretched into eternity. The road narrowed, the trees pressing in like silent watchers. I felt a growing unease but kept quiet. I didn't want to be that guy. Finally, we arrived. The cabin was massive, larger than we expected. 3 stories tall, with dark wooden beams and a wraparound porch. It looked old but well-maintained, like something pulled from another time. A strange, musty scent lingered in the air. "This place is amazing," Sophie said, but her voice lacked enthusiasm. I carried our bags inside. The interior was just as eerie. Antique furniture, dusty chandeliers, and paintings of people whose eyes seemed to follow us. Mark laughed, breaking the tension. "All right, who's ready for some drinks?" We settled in. Lisa started a fire, and we poured whiskey into mismatched glasses. The unease faded as the alcohol warmed our bodies. Then the whispering started. Soft, almost imperceptible. I thought it was the wind, until I saw Lisa freeze, her eyes flicking toward the staircase. "You heard that, right?" she whispered. Sophie nodded slowly. Mark smirked. "Relax, it's an old house. Creaks, drafts, nothing more." I wanted to believe him, but something felt wrong. Night 1. We claimed our rooms, Lisa and I in one, Mark and Sophie in another. The silence was suffocating. Not peaceful, empty. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Then, footsteps. Not from inside, but above. I sat up, listening. Lisa stirred beside me. "Did you hear that?" she murmured. I nodded. "There's an attic, right?" She swallowed. "Yeah, but we didn't go up there." The footsteps continued, slow, deliberate, like something was pacing just above us. I grabbed my phone, but of course no signal. Then knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks. Lisa's grip tightened on my arm. "Mark?" I called out. No answer. I swung my legs out of bed, moving toward the door. I hesitated before opening it. The hallway was pitch black, stretching into an abyss. Something shifted at the end of the hall. A shadow. I slammed the door shut. "We're leaving first thing in the morning." Lisa didn't argue. Day 2. The morning brought little relief. The car wouldn't start. The engine turned over, but nothing happened. Mark checked under the hood. "Battery's fine." "I don't get it." Frustration turned to fear when we realized there was no road. I know it sounds impossible, but the dirt path we had driven in on was gone, swallowed by the forest. Sophie was already crying. Lisa clutched my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "This isn't happening," Mark muttered. But it was. We were trapped. Night 2. Panic turned to exhaustion, and by nightfall we retreated inside. None of us wanted to sleep, but we had no choice. Lisa and I huddled under the blankets. I tried to stay awake, but at some point, exhaustion took me. Then I heard it, a whisper low and guttural right against my ear. "You don't belong here." My eyes flew open. The room was ice cold. Lisa lay beside me, her breath fogging in the air. I turned my head slowly. There, standing by the window, was a figure. Tall, featureless, a void in the shape of a person. It didn't move, just watched, couldn't breathe. My body refused to move. Then it lunged. I gasped, bolting upright. The room was empty. Lisa stirred beside me, mumbling in her sleep. A dream? No, the window was open, and from outside came the sound of laughter. Not human laughter. Something wrong. Day 3. Lisa had deep scratches on her arms. She didn't remember getting them. Sophie refused to speak, just sat in a corner, rocking slightly. Mark tried the car again. Nothing. Then, in broad daylight, we saw them. Figures in the trees. Watching. Motionless. No faces. No features. Just standing. Lisa whispered, "We need to run." "To where?" Mark snapped. "There's no way out." A shadow moved behind him. "Sophie," I choked out. "Where's Sophie?" She was gone. Lisa screamed. Mark ran toward the woods, calling her name. I grabbed Lisa's hand, forcing myself to think. The attic. I didn't know why, but something told me we had to go up. We raced up the stairs, throwing open the attic door. The air was thick with dust, swirling like ghosts. And there, in the center of the room, was a door. A single wooden door standing upright, leading to nowhere. I knew we had to go through. Mark's screams echoed from below, the sound of something tearing. Lisa sobbed, gripping my hand. The figures were coming up the stairs. I grabbed the doorknob and pulled. Blinding white light swallowed us whole. The aftermath. We woke up in the car. The engine was running. The road was back. Sophie and Mark were gone. Lisa and I drove in silence until we reached town. We told the police everything. They searched. Found nothing. The cabin didn't exist. No records. No history. Just gone. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear it. That whisper. "You don't belong here." The cabin at Black Hollow. I should have listened to my instincts. The moment we took the exit toward Black Hollow, an unsettling chill crept up my spine, but I shrugged it off. It was just a weekend getaway, a break from the monotony of city life. There were 4 of us, me, my girlfriend Rachel, my best friend Eric, and his girlfriend Hannah. Eric had found this secluded cabin online, nestled deep in the woods, far from civilization. No phone signals, no Wi-Fi, just nature and good company. He had said enthusiastically. We were all in. The drive took longer than expected. The roads twisted through dense, ancient trees, their gnarled branches reaching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. By the time we arrived, the sun was dipping below the horizon, casting the forest in a murky twilight. The cabin itself looked old, not in a charming, rustic way, more like something abandoned, with faded wooden panels and windows dark like empty eye sockets. A single porch light flickered weakly. Rachel squeezed my hand. "It looks cozy," she lied. Eric chuckled. "Come on, it's perfect. We'll build a fire, drink, tell ghost stories." Hannah hesitated but followed him inside. The air inside smelled of dust and damp wood. A thick silence hung in the air, disturbed only by the creaking floorboards under our feet. The walls were adorned with old, faded portraits, stern-faced people with hollow eyes. I felt watched. Rachel nudged me. "Weird place, huh?" she whispered. I nodded, brushing off my unease. We settled in, lighting the fireplace and breaking out the beer. Laughter filled the space, and for a moment, the cabin felt warm, inviting. Then the knocking started. A slow, deliberate tap, tap, tap against the back door. We froze. Eric chuckled nervously, probably a branch hitting the wood. Then it came again, louder this time. I grabbed a flashlight and moved to the door, my heart hammering. I hesitated before pulling it open. The light cut through the night, revealing nothing. Just the dark expanse of trees, shifting slightly in the wind. Goosebumps prickled my skin. I locked the door and turned back to the group. Probably just the wind. Rachel still looked uneasy, but we forced ourselves to relax. Hours passed. The fire dwindled. Hannah had dozed off against Eric's shoulder, and Rachel was curled up beside me. The unease never left me, though. Then, around 2 a.m., something shifted. A sound, soft, almost imperceptible. Breathing. Heavy, raspy breathing, coming from the bedroom down the hall. My pulse pounded in my ears. Slowly, I stood up, straining to listen. Rachel stirred. "What is it?" she mumbled. I shook my head, signaling for silence. The breathing continued. I grabbed the flashlight again and crept toward the hallway, my steps cautious. The air grew colder with each step. I reached the door at the end, heart hammering. Taking a deep breath, I turned the knob and swung the door open. Nothing. The room was empty, the bed untouched. But the breathing hadn't stopped. It was just closer, right behind me. I spun around, my flashlight flickering. Nothing. A sudden crash from the living room made me bolt. I ran back to find Rachel and Eric scrambling to their feet. "The hell was that?" Eric barked. Hannah was trembling, pointing to the window. I swear I saw someone outside." I rushed over, shining my flashlight through the glass. The beam cut through the darkness until it landed on something. A figure, standing just beyond the tree line. Tall, motionless, watching. I couldn't make out a face, but I felt its stare drill into me. "Get away from the window," I hissed. Eric grabbed the fire poker. "Who the hell?" The lights flickered, then went out completely. Rachel grabbed my arm. "We need to leave. Now." I didn't argue. We grabbed our bags in a panic, fumbling in the dark. I threw open the front door only to freeze. The figure was there, closer now. A guttural whisper crawled through the air, something unintelligible, like a distorted radio transmission. The air turned suffocating, pressing against my chest. Then it moved, not walked, not ran. It glided, its form flickering, distorting like a warped videotape. Screaming, I slammed the door shut. "Back door! Now!" We bolted through the cabin, but the moment we reached the kitchen, every door, every window slammed shut on its own. We were trapped. Then came the voices, whispers everywhere, layered, overlapping, speaking in tongues we couldn't understand. They slithered into my mind, growing louder, angrier. Hannah collapsed to the floor, hands over her ears, sobbing. The air felt thick, wrong. A shadow pooled in the corner of the room, twisting, stretching toward us. I felt a cold hand graze my back, and a voice, so close to my ear, hissed a single word. "Stay." I lost it. I grabbed Rachel and pulled her toward the door, yanking at the knob with everything I had. Eric was slamming the fire poker against the window, but it wouldn't break. Then light. Blinding. Golden light erupted from outside. Headlights. A car. The whispers screeched in protest, the darkness retreating. Suddenly, the door flung open on its own, and we didn't hesitate. We ran. We burst outside to find an old man standing by his pickup truck, holding a lantern. He looked at us, his face grim. "You kids got lucky," he muttered. "You shouldn't have come here." We didn't ask questions. We piled into his truck and he drove fast until we reached the main road. Only when we saw the first signs of civilization did I finally speak. "What the hell was that place?" The old man exhaled. "That cabin? It ain't supposed to be there. It burned down 50 years ago. Folks that go looking for it," he shook his head. "They don't come back." I turned to look back toward the woods, toward where the cabin had been. But there was nothing, just dark, endless trees, as if the cabin never existed.